So just because you start out with one idea doesn't mean you can't evolve it and change it. So just start, like, put your flag in the ground and start somewhere, and you can always like adapt and change as you go.
Step right up, folks. You're now entering It's a Circus, where parenting isn't always a show stopping act, but it's certainly entertaining. I'm your host, Elsa, here to prove that no one really knows what they're doing, and that's perfectly fine. Let's have some real conversations, peel back the layers, and remind you that you're never alone in the madness. Let's get the show rolling. Okay, are you guys in for a treat with this one? I am so excited to talk about this story. This is with Sasha, originally from England and now based in Sarasota, Florida. She has built multiple successful businesses across industries from digital marketing and e-com to home services and luxury design. Known for her fearless reinvention, Sasha has transformed setbacks into stepping stones, using her expertise in SEO, branding, and strategic growth to help others thrive. She is the founder of Digital Phoenix SEO and several other ventures, each fueled by her passion for innovation, connection, and empowering others to achieve their vision. Beyond business, Sasha is a creative at heart, a lover of the arts, and a believer in living with purpose. She blends her professional drive with the grounding joy of motherhood, building not just companies, but a legacy of resilience, inspiration, and impact. And that could not be more true of this woman that I interviewed. I am so excited for you guys to hear her honest, raw, real story. And we go there. And we go there to some deep, dark places. So I am warning you now. We really are honest. And Sasha has been so vulnerable and sharing her story. The fact that we talk about resiliency and the rising phoenix, she is a wonderful example of that. And she is so hopeful to anyone witnessing her journey that there is the power of new beginnings and fresh starts. So without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome, Sasha, to It's a Circus podcast. I'm so glad you are here, and I am going to kick us off with the question I start with everyone. What are your mamahood stats? Who do you mother? How old are they? How long have you been a mother? And have you always wanted to be one?
So I have two girls, 18 and 9. I always say growing up, I never wanted to have kids, but I had my first one. I was 20 when I had her. Was very young, but we kind of grew together. We'll get into all of the details, I know, but we definitely had a tumultuous relationship. And then
Mm-hmm.
my 9-year-old is the easygoing,
Oh,
very happy, like everything. So yeah, so two girls and four paws. We're actually fostering another dog right now from the Humane Society. So they're all of my babies.
I hear you. I have fur babies too, and thank you for mentioning them because when you talk about like the level of care that goes into human motherhood, oftentimes that extends. It extends to
Right.
the fluffy ones and your sourdough starter, like all the things. So I hear you and I love that. Okay, so younger mom, 20. And I'm quoting younger because in the grand scheme of things, who knows, whatever. Was that something planned, or was it a surprise?
So it was a surprise, but I was married. So I got
Mm-hmm.
married at 19. Crazy story, got married in Vegas. We actually planned to go to Vegas and get married from England. No, we didn't even live in the States back then. So we went Memorial Day weekend and got married. And
Oh,
that would have been 19, yeah, 19 years ago, this memorial just gone. So
oh my gosh.
yeah. So yeah, we planned to go out there, but we had moved to the States by the time that I got pregnant, but we didn't know I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm. Okay, amazing. And how was pregnancy for you?
It was rough. I had
Yeah.
preeclampsia. I had morning sickness
Oh,
to the point where I had to have IVs. I had liver failure. I had anything that could go wrong went wrong. And so she was induced 6 weeks early. We lived in Pennsylvania at the time, and they induced her 6 weeks early. But everything was fine. She didn't have to stay in the hospital, and she was good. But yeah, Mama Bear not so much.
yeah. Wow. Okay, so yes, that is all the things, and I know it's quite some time ago, but when you think about that lead up, especially with your second one, with quite the age difference, was it a different experience with your younger gal?
So we planned the second one. I remarried. They have different dads. We planned the second one and we went to the doctor because my eldest actually had JIA, which is juvenile idiopathic arthritis, and it's an autoimmune disease, and we were worried about it being genetic. So we'd been to see a doctor, is this likely to happen for a second child? Because we would never do that. They said no. And I said, okay, so I was really sick the first time. They're like, well, first time pregnancies can be rough. You should be fine the second time. I was not fine
Mm.
the second time. It was like print and repeat for me. I mean, she's fine. She doesn't have the arthritis. But for me, it was a rough pregnancy as well.
Oh, yeah. Those pregnancies can be so tough. And okay, walk us through a little bit of the path between you being in the States with first child, and then what was that path and what's kind of led you to this moment here?
It's a very long and winding path. And I would
I
say
love
it's
it.
the ultimate reinvention numerous times. So, yeah, so I was married
Yes.
at 19, moved to the States, had Maddie, who was my eldest. Um,
Mhm.
left her dad when she was 18 months old. Um, there was
Wow.
some infidelity issues and things. And I told him on the Monday I was leaving. And by Wednesday, I had everything packed of mine into a container and I was on a plane back to England. So went home, moved in with my mom. And my mom and I have had a terrible relationship my whole life. And that lasted maybe 6 weeks or so before she was like, yeah,
Oh
you're
man.
not living here. And I came home and all my stuff is in trash bags on the back porch and my daughter's in the house and she won't let me in the house. So
Sasha.
I go and move in with my grandfather, and I mean, like, it was hell, like trying to get her back. And in the meantime, serendipitously, I go to my local Starbucks, and the guy standing behind me in line is my high school sweetheart. And he taps me on the shoulder. He's home from college for the weekend, like he's in college 4 hours away. And he taps me on the shoulder. He's like, "Hey, how are you?" We start talking, and the rest was kind of history. So we were then back together. We moved away. We took Maddie with us. We built careers. He finished his degree. I helped him through his PhD. Um, I went and got my degree because I'd left school at 16 because of my parents. And then we moved to the States. So he got a job with Goodyear. We moved to Ohio. In the meantime, we've had Tilly. But she was only one. We literally moved like a week after her first birthday, so she doesn't remember it yet. And we moved here, and he had a visa to work. I did not have a visa, so I decided to start a YouTube channel because I can't sit at home and do nothing. I was going crazy. So I taught people how to make greetings cards, like how to stamp and how to scrapbook and all of this kind of stuff. And it took off. So that then like grew into this whole animal of its own. We had an e-commerce business. We worked with Joanne's and Crayola and Michael's and Cricket and all these people making content for them. I started making my own products, did all of this kind of stuff. And then COVID happened and
Mm.
we my ex-husband got really depressed. I mean, we'd been together
Mm.
13 years at that point, and he got super duper depressed. And we're driving one day, and he jumps out the car on me. Like literally, I'm
Oh
driving, clicks his seatbelt, barrel rolls out the car. And honestly, in that moment, I thought I'd killed him because as I did it, we
no.
were in Ohio. There's a pothole, and I thought that was him under my car, and that was horrific. So I was doing some contract work down in Florida. He obviously was working from home. It's COVID. And I decided that I couldn't live in Ohio anymore. I couldn't keep driving past this place. It was in my head. I thought maybe the sunshine will help him. Like, I had a business partner down here. We were looking at launching our own product range. So we bought a house down here in Florida in Sarasota. And we moved down here and we built the business up and it was doing great. It wasn't profitable because it was new, but like it was doing seven figures in turnover. And
Wow.
yeah, it was doing great. I was on HSN, I was going to England and selling the products. Like it definitely had potential. But
Yeah.
it took both of us to run. He's an engineer too, so he was doing more of that and I was doing more of the creative. And alcohol took over. And I mean, it was really bad. Um, and with that came eventually came violence. So there was numerous times the police were called. Eventually he was arrested, and that was the end of my marriage. So I was a single mom. I had no income because he was the sole provider. He had a six-figure job in engineering, working from home, and I have two kids. I have a big house and no income. And everyone had known what had happened, and I still can't put my finger on why, but like my best friend at the time, who I called mom, like I traveled with her, everything, she took him in. Like he got out of jail the next day and she's like, hey, come live with me. I'm
Interesting.
like, you've seen the state of me. You've seen I'm black and blue. Like, you know what I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
And like all of my friends, suddenly, like I was the bad guy for having ruined this guy's life.
Mm.
So I made a conscious decision to just start again and
Yeah.
focus on quality connections and had to rebuild my life. So I started doing digital marketing. I kind of wound the company down as best as I could. I tried to keep it going, but I couldn't do it on my own. And I couldn't do it with no income because then I don't have any income to pay the bills. So I built up a digital marketing company. From there, I worked in some home services. I have a home services company with my partner now that we've just started. Um, and kind of just started again. But I mean, then I went through the whole nearly 3 years, it'll be 3 years in July, of dating and apps and all the disasters that go with that. I mean, eventually I found Prince Charming, but there was
Mm.
a lot of frogs in the meantime.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
So
Sasha,
that's how we
thank
got
you.
here. So
Oh
now we can
my
break it
God.
down.
Okay. I thank you for being such a warrior. Thank you for being such a good example of resilience. Thank you for sharing that you can always reinvent yourself when you need to, when you have to. And that is such a powerful thing to share. And thank you. It's like so inspiring to me and so hopeful, I know will resonate with people out there listening. So thank you for that. And thank you for sharing. Okay. So I do want to unpack some stuff because I
Yeah.
think there's a few themes that are just wow. Tell me about how you are maintaining creative juices, working, leading companies and, putting videos out and connecting with customers while you are single momming it, helping out, your ex husband, all of that. How are you working, doing what you love, being that creative, in addition to holding space for kind of all the other things that happen in your life?
So when the company closed down, and it didn't close down in a way I like, but life happens and things happen. So that would have been 2.5 years ago, 2.5 years ago, that
Mm-hmm.
everything kind of stopped. And I didn't walk into, so I had a beautiful, in the old house, I had a lovely craft room. We moved into this house. I built a craft room. I put all the boxes in there. I started to unpack. And I probably didn't walk in there for the first year I lived in town. I couldn't face just walking in and looking at the stuff because of the memories and the thoughts. I love being creative. Like I would decorate for Christmas and I would make stuff for Christmas. But every time I go out, I'd buy a new glue gun because I didn't want to walk in that room and have to go through everything and find that glue gun. But I would say in the last 6 months, it's just been baby steps. Like I felt like that creative side was missing. Yes, I build websites, I do graphic design, and I do all that stuff. But like I wanted to tangibly make stuff. And it was actually my best friend. She called me up and she's like, I'm really into clay earrings and candles and soap, and I want to make some. She's like, do you want to do it with me? And I think she kind of felt I was struggling not being creative. I was like, okay, well, it's not paper, so I should be all right. So she came over, we went and bought the stuff, and we started making. And she sat in the craft room, and I sort of like instinctively started to unpack stuff. And slowly but surely, I spend like more and more time in there. So for me, it's been a journey to get back to that. But I've always
Yeah.
done things, like I made all my Halloween decor and things like that. So I think it's doing whatever makes you feel fulfilled,
Mm-hmm.
and carving the time for that. So even if it's like, okay, I used to be a paper crafter. Well, I can't touch that right now. I'm not in that zone. But I want to make a candle. Go get the stuff and just try it. Like, just try it. What's the worst that can happen? The candle's misformed. It's not like it's
Mm.
so. But yeah,
I think that's so powerful. I think there is something that is around creating something in moments where it feels tough to create something beautiful, or not even just create, period, just the action of it, not even the result from it. That is so healing in a way that I don't think we really talk about. So thank you for sharing that and leaning into that creative piece. I think can feel is such a gift when you have the ability to do that. So I love what you're saying right now is, in those tough times, if you can lean into what supports you and what you're passionate about, you can, find some healing through that.
yeah, for sure.
So your current business right now, what is that? And can you share with us about what's brought you to what you're currently doing?
Yeah, so right now I run an SEO agency. I actually only opened the agency a few months ago, but I've been doing SEO, so search engine optimization, how brands get found on Google, all those things for a while. Um, I obviously did it when I had the e-commerce company, but didn't really realize what I was doing per se. Um, and then when I got like separated, I was like, okay, what am I good at? Okay, I know how to market things. I know how to do social media. So I got a couple of contracts with places like some barber shops here in town, a restaurant, and I was doing their social media, a little bit of web design. And I really realized I hate social media. I hate doing Facebook. I hate doing Instagram. I'm not a TikTok girl. Like, that's just not me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll sit and make YouTube videos and teach people things, that's fine, but I don't want to be doing
Mm-hmm.
the other stuff. So
Yep.
what I loved was building the websites, doing the data and doing the optimization stuff. And to me it was kind of like a puzzle and a challenge, and I went to school for engineering originally, and to me I loved it. And I didn't really tap into it until a guy I follow on Facebook who I've known through a piece of software called ClickFunnels, and I've known him for probably nearly 5, 10 years now. um, he launched a certification program. He's like, hey, if you want to do SEO and you want to become certified and you want to have an agency. And I was doing SEO for a couple of companies, not as an agency, just what I knew. And I did it for an ex-boyfriend who I was dating. And that's kind of how I got back into really doing it. I was like, I could do an agency. Like, that would work. So I spoke to my partner now. I was like, look, I think I want to do this. I told him how much it was. I think he thought I was crazy. Um, and I was like, you know what? He can do monthly payments. It's okay. I said, I'm going to do it. And
Oh,
actually,
love it.
as I said I was going to do it, the contract I was doing ended quite abruptly,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
because of a situation that arose. So I don't know. Maybe it was serendipity. Maybe the stars just aligned. I don't know. And so I went all in. I spent 2 weeks on my laptop. I did the whole certification. I became the first certified SEO that he had. And he was like, I never thought anyone would get through it this quickly. I was like, well, I had a lot of time on my hands. So here we go.
Gosh, I love it.
And I've just been building my agency since. So now I have a few clients, and we have goals. I have a book that I've written on SEO, which I'm going to self-publish on Amazon. And that's kind of how I ended up doing this. And through the process, I ended up with a home services company that I started with my partner, like 4 months ago. We started out on our own, based off an industry I'd done a lot of work in the past. And then through the restaurant, met another guy, and I'm helping him build out a couple of home services companies as well. So it's all working out slowly.
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. So, okay, one, that's so amazing. Congratulations on especially the new ventures. That's very exciting. You are starting out new or with these new ventures. What are some tips that you can give to maybe people that are considering an idea, thinking about an idea and to bring it to fruition?
I would say you just have to do it because I thought about doing the agency and I thought about it and I thought about it. And as you do it, you'll refine it. Like, my home services company didn't start out with the services that it now does. And my agency, I started out just doing SEO and now I do fractional CMO work as well. So for companies who can't afford or don't want a CMO in their business,
Mm-hmm.
they can hire me either for a 1 day strategy or, like a 6 month contract, 12-month contract, whatever they need. And it's like the best of both worlds. They have an agency, but they don't have the payroll and those kinds of things. So, but that was just because my clients started asking for it. And I had people calling me
Of
saying,
course.
hey, do you
Yeah.
do fractional CMO? And in the beginning, I'm like, no. And then I was like, I've had a few of these. Let me look into it. Oh, actually, yeah, that is something I can do. And so I
Mm-hmm.
added it on and now I market that as a service as well. So just because you start out with one idea doesn't mean you can't evolve it and change it. So just start, like, put your flag in the ground and start somewhere and you can always like adapt and change as you go.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you for saying that. As you say it with such ease. I will tell you that that is one of the hardest things that people get stuck in is
Mm-hmm.
this like overthinking, perfectionist, or, this fear of judgment. What do you, I feel like this is innate in you. So if you don't have an answer, I understand. But what it sounds like you can start anything. Is there anything before you start something where you're like, ooh, do you have any fears of like judgment or concern or whatnot?
Oh,
And how do you break through those?
huge fears. I mean, everything
Ah, okay, go.
from what's my ex-husband going to think? Is someone going to try and sabotage this? Because, I've been through a lot. I worked for a guy 18 months ago. He turned out he was doing shady things. And I thought I'd asked all the right questions. And so I got arrested and things. And, I've had people call up and be like, how can you work with this girl? She was arrested. Never been proven guilty of anything, but at the same time, people judge you for that. So I have
Of
huge fears
course.
of like, what if someone calls one of my clients and says, hey, that girl you just employed, she has a criminal record. Like, and people have done that to my friends. I did an event with a friend of mine and she got a phone call like, how can you work with this girl? We don't know who the phone call is. I think I know, but we don't actually know who the
Hmm.
phone call is. So like,
Hmm.
I have huge fears of things like that coming up. Um, just what if it fails? What if people don't like it? I'm about to launch a series of lunch and learns in Sarasota, um, to help women or anyone really who has a business and it's actionable advice. It's not like a pitch. It's twice a month. One is a lunch, one is a dinner. And I'm like, okay, what if no one turns up? What if someone hates the food? What if I can't find speakers? It's like you have all of those fears. And I'm like, if I don't put it out there and try, I'll never know. What's the worst I lost? I've lost $150 deposit on the that I'm gonna get.
Right.
It's not it's
Right.
not the end of the
Right.
world. My friends are gonna go and eat lunch and we'll, spend $150.
Totally. Bring the besties and at least we'll have a lunch. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's so inspiring. I think there is in kind of this zeitgeist right now that you want to pursue your own thing. And this idea of freedom from the corporate ladder or some of those other things is such an allure. And that allure, as you kind of step into it, can feel really shocking once you essentially start taking action or start dreaming and getting a little bit more real with what are some of those things you come up against when you experience that self-doubt. What are some things that get you through?
So for me, it's what's the worst that can happen? Like as long as I can pay my bills, that's all that matters. As long as I have a roof over my head, if I can't afford a new pair of shoes this month, it's not the end of the world. If we can't go out and eat dinner, it's not the end of the world. As long as we have food on the table, the bills are paid, and everyone's happy, that's pretty much our, mantra in this house. My other half, he's actually 7,000 miles away right now. And I know it's tough for him because he watches me take these risks, and I know he's very risk averse, and I'm very like pro risk. But that's what I say to him, like, as long as I have enough money to pay the rent at the end of the month, let's try it. Like, I'm not going to go off on some crazy tangent, but here's my agency. If I go all in and I know if I work hard at it, I can make enough to pay the bills. And that's really, And if it doesn't work out in 6 months, I'll go back with the job again. It's not the end of the
I think that is so powerful to share. For the things that you're working on now, is there anything that you want to share from all of your current projects that you think would be important for people to hear?
I think it's just don't be afraid to try it. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, I have a team of offshore people. I have a great network of friends and people here. Just ask for help. If someone's sitting there and they're looking at starting a business, a friend of mine called me yesterday. She's going to do a series of in-depth speed networking. I was like, hey, if anyone wants a marketing session, I'll do it to them for free if they're in your group. And so that's the thing. Don't be
Wow.
afraid to give. Don't be afraid to play the long game. Some of my best clients I'm getting in my agency are clients where I've just gone in free Facebook groups that talk about SEO, and I've given value, not pitched, not said I run an agency, not anything. And I'll give them some advice and we start a conversation like, oh, actually, I'd like to employ your services. So don't be afraid to give. Don't give too much for free because I've done that too. But also, don't be afraid to just give or ask for help.
That is amazing. And I feel like that really fits into your idea around the lunch and learn. Can you talk a bit about the purpose of that and why you feel that's necessary now?
Yeah, so when I was back in my engineering days, so I worked for Jaguar Land Rover, we would have companies come in and they'd offer us lunch and learns. Now, of course, it was all Jaguar Land Rover employees, but you would meet people from the body systems, the chassis systems, like all the different things. So you would network with people you wouldn't normally talk to. And I go to all the same networking events here. We all go to the BNIs and the different things, and you kind of meet the same people, and a lot of them are seat specific and all those things. So I wanted to look at it from a different perspective because I go to these lunch and to these networking events. I get a ton of business cards, and then it's like you'll follow up, but then you never hear from half the people. So what's a way that I can help people network, but also add value to their business? So the idea is it's an hour and a half twice a month. Say one at lunchtime, one in the evening to kind of accommodate schedules. Maybe we'll add a breakfast at some point. And each time we'll have a talk, 30 to 45 minutes. By a subject matter expert. So I might talk about SEO, my friend could talk about social, someone could talk about work-life balance. They're not allowed to
Hmm.
pitch because they're the subject matter
Hmm.
expert just by being there. So the idea is they're adding value, something that people can take away and implement into their business, and it will improve their business or business personal life in some way. And then at the end, there's a Q&A time. And then after that, there's the optional kind of networking, very informal. Everyone's got something to eat up, during the talk. So everyone feels good and they can just talk, or you can just leave and go back to work and to the office. But try to just give people a little bit of a different experience.
These lunch and learns feel a lot more intimate, feel a lot more like community based. And I think that is so needed in our world right now. One, to give people the opportunity to present, but to also have something a little bit more intimate than, some of these prior networking groups.
Exactly. And it's not seat specific. So, you could end up with three restoration companies there. And I understand why, like at BNI, they have a seat specific, but also there's value to be had of having three of the same people in the same room because they might offer slightly different services or have different perspectives and they can help each other. And, we know what it's like here when we get a hurricane. Everyone bands together and we all help each other. So just, having those relationships here in the community between the companies as well, I think is valuable.
What a wonderful idea. I think that is absolutely brilliant and so needed. Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit. So I'm dying to get into this because I feel like there are a lot of mothers out there that are in the current dating pool. Talk to me about that, especially coming off of prior marriages and you have a child. What advice would you give? Well, one, share a little bit about your experience. And then two, what advice would you give for maybe people that are just entering that phase in their lives?
So it's hell. And I think anyone that I've met who's single at our kind of age or even younger, they're like, this place is hell to date. And I know it's very regional specific, and Florida apparently is one of the worst places. But I tried all the apps. I tried Bumble and Hinge and Facebook dating and all the things. And you may have heard of it, but there's a Facebook group called Are We Dating the Same Guy? And they're regional. So there's like a Sarasota Bradenton one, there's a Tampa St. Pete, and all these guys get posted, and it's all the same guys over and over and over. So it's like, okay, so you kind of lose faith in the whole apps thing. And I met some good people. A couple of them became friends. One of them I worked for, and that was a disaster. Another one helped me into home services, so that was great. And he did help me in life. He turned out to be crazy in the end, but he did help me in life. Um, but I've met guys, I've been roofied twice on dates. So I would say always
No.
go on a date somewhere that you are comfortable and you know, yeah, twice I had something put in my drink. Um, and the first time I happened to be at a local bar, I knew the bartenders. They realized something was wrong with me. They got me home. So then after that, I was like, okay, I only go on dates in places where I know someone or it's a familiar circumstance or I'm close to home. Don't let them meet your kids too soon. Like I was very careful. I would say, I mean, my eldest daughter was a bit different because she was 16, 17, 18. Um, but my youngest daughter met maybe three guys ever, four maybe.
Hmm.
Um, One guy I actually dated for a long time. She was completely in love with him, and then I found out he actually had a wife and kids in another country. Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
She messaged
Okay.
me 3 days before Christmas. I thought you were my
No.
husband's friend, but I've seen the text messages you send. I realized it's something different. And bear in mind, she doesn't speak English. She only speaks Arabic and
Ugh.
French. So then I speak some French. So I was speaking to her in French. And it turns out, yeah, like, okay, that's great. So that was a great Christmas present.
Gosh.
So you just never know. And
Yeah.
then the guy that I'm with now, I actually met completely serendipitously, not through an app. He had been over here, he's from Jordan originally, came to visit his uncle and take some medical exams. He's training to be a doctor. And he was helping his uncle in like a express store and like really in the hood. I mean, and I walked in, I was doing some work across the street and we met and I guess the rest is history. Not that it's been easy, but yeah. So I would say I even tried the whole meeting guys in bars. It's tough. Like that, I can't give you a recipe. You might get lucky on an app. You might meet someone at a bar. You might randomly meet someone in the express market. You don't know.
Right. Oh
But
my
yeah,
gosh, that is one, great tips, and two, that is crazy. That is nuts. And I think that is just some really good tips. I mean, the fact that you were roofied twice is wild. Thank
hmm
goodness you were at least in a safe environment. And note to everybody, please make sure you are. And then, yeah, I mean, you have some good aspects too, some that helped you in business and whatnot. So I think that is all good too. As a like newly single mother and making sure not to introduce the dates to your kids too soon, is there anything else that you would let a mother know before she enters
I
into
would say
that phase
just
of her life?
don't compromise your values. Like we all joke, there's
Love
the
that.
field of red flags, and we ignore them. We become colorblind because we like the guy, or we want to be on our own. And it's taken me a long time to be comfortable on my own. Um, where I was like, okay, I can do this on my own, and you can do it on your own. It's not easy. You need, I would say, building that support network. I was lucky. I have some good friends who have helped me. I've also seen who are good friends and who are just there for the fun
Right. I'm
times.
sure. Yep.
Um, I had a guy who tried to rape me, and I'd been dating him for a while. I mean, like the stories I could tell you about dating, that's a whole podcast. I mean, it's horrific, honestly. And
Yeah.
these guys, a lot of them don't have boundaries and things. So set your boundaries, set your values, don't compromise them. I know it seems shiny, a guy is good looking, and he love bombs you and tells you all the great things, but in the long run, it's not.
Yeah. Ugh. Okay. You're dating somebody now. So when you kind of move into like a more of a serious relationship, and what kind of advice do you have for kind of that person that's experiencing their second or, third type of more serious relationship?
So my dynamic is a little bit different. Um, So this guy, he's younger than me. He's never really been in a serious relationship. he's Jordanian, so he's Middle Eastern.
Hmm.
He has very traditional views. He's an amazing guy. He treats me like an absolute princess.
Hmm.
But those dynamics will be different, and navigating the cultural differences, and the fact that I have been married and I have had kids, and that has been a challenge. So I think you just have to be open, because you're both going to come with baggage, whether it's kids, whether it's previous marriages and relationships. And those previous partners may still be in their life because they were married and you have kids together. So you kind of just have to, I think, have a little bit more tolerance than when we were teenagers and we were trying to, 18, 19 in college, trying to find our forever. You just have to keep your eyes wide open. You don't want to get taken advantage of, but at the same time, you have to have tolerance for the fact that they're going to come with baggage and people in their life. And, you know, can you live with that and navigate through that and all those things?
I love that. Beautifully said, and such wise advice too. Okay, Sasha, tell me about this book that you are writing, and this you're gonna self-publish it then on Amazon.
Yeah, I'm going to still publish it because I don't know any other way to publish it. So if there's anyone
I
listening
love
to the
it.
podcast and they know how to publish a book, please tell me. So yeah, so I've been doing SEO, and the guy that I did my certification with, he wrote a great book.
Yeah.
I love his book. And I've read lots of books on SEO and web design, all these things. And the one thing he said about his book is it's really, not only has it brought him clients, but it's aligned people to his values. And it's a great way to screen clients, as well as you
Ooh.
kind of see the impact you have in helping people. So I've written the book. It's 17 chapters, but each chapter is structured a little bit differently. So, in the beginning of the book, you have to sign a commitment and post it online and tell us that you're committed to this process, because SEO, what we do, is about consistency. And if you're not going to be consistent, you're never going to see the rewards of what we do. So, it
Mm-mm.
goes through everything from here's the problem you have, here's how to solve it, or here's how to check you have that problem. Maybe it's site speed, let's take something easy. Here's how to check you have that problem. If you have it, this is how you fix it, and here's your homework. So it like literally guides you through everything step by step. So you read about what the problem is, why it's a problem, how to analyze if you have it, and then how to fix it step by step with your homework at the end. And so you can work through all of these things. And it even works through, okay, I've read this book. Now I think I'm sick of SEO and I want to work with an agency. And it just tells you, like, when you go to an agency, this is what you need to ask. This is what's important. Like, I get ads, obviously, all the time for agencies. We guarantee this, we guarantee that. It's Google, there's no guarantees. And in my contract, it says SEO is slow and I offer you no guarantees. We can only do our
Mm-hmm.
best and we use methods we know work. So I wanted to help people through that process, because when I had the e-commerce company, I hired so many ad companies and SEO companies, and I wasted thousands, probably tens of thousands of dollars on it. And I
Wow.
don't want people to go through that same process. So the idea of the book is, if you can't afford an agency, you can do it yourself. Here's how. And if you do want an agency, make sure you get the right agency that fits your business. And it doesn't necessarily have to be my agency. When you talk to an agency, these are the things you should ask them, and these are the kind of answers you should expect. So yeah, so it's just a guide for everyone on growing their business, because everyone wants to, escape this kind of corporate life, and we
Yeah.
all need to have an online presence, and that's kind of the way to do it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I just applaud you because taking over a book, taking on the project of a book, I can't even imagine the scope and scale of that. So incredible. This may be a silly question, but do you just like sit down and go? Or do you have kind of like a strategy in place? Are you working with someone that's like helping you write the book, or is it just you're
No,
going
I've
for it?
written I've written the whole thing. I've designed the cover art. I've
Wow.
done everything, and I wrote the book. I kind of like outlined my structure. I put it into ChatGPT and said, I want to write a book. Here's my structure. Can you help me like kind of refine it, put it in the right order, give me some feedback on it. And then once it kind of gave me the chapter structure and, obviously the back and forth, I was like, okay. And then I just went and I wrote every chapter. So one a day.
Wow.
So it's like 3 weeks I had it written. So now I just have to proof
Oh
it.
my.
That's what I'm working
Oh my goodness. Well, awesome. Okay, I want to talk about something else that you brought up. And one, you talked about the your partner at the time.
like jumping from the car, and the mental health aspect and kind of burden or process that, you have gone through. What is your view of mental health, your experience of mental health, and what would you say on that topic?
So, from watching someone with mental health issues, it's tough because they don't necessarily see they have a problem. He still doesn't see he has an alcohol problem. And every single post on Facebook is around alcohol. And it's very hard now not being in the household because you don't have any control over it. And I would say that the legal system doesn't do anything to help them. I can flag it all I want to the family court. They're like, well, he can drink all he wants. I'm like, okay, but look at his history. So
Wow.
that's really tough. I mean, even being married to him, eventually I got him on antidepressants and that helped, but the alcohol was in another depressant. So from watching someone is hard and you can't necessarily help them and you have to accept that. I just read a book called Let Them, and that was
Mm,
probably one of the best books I ever read of just saying like, okay, if they want to drink themselves to death, let them, if
mm-hmm.
they don't care about their mental health, let them. So if you're in the situation where you're the partner, I would definitely suggest going and reading that book, um, just to help you with some strategies of how you maybe have to detach yourself a little bit. And I wish I'd known that back in the day. From my own mental health experience, it also sucks. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so when I was working for this guy that got me in a lot of trouble, um, I actually tried to kill myself when I found out that the whole thing was just basically a scheme and it wasn't what I thought it was. Um, I got Baker acted twice in 24 hours. Now, if you know anything about Baker Act, you're supposed to be there for 72. So I managed to get out of my first Baker Act to come home to commit suicide.
Ugh.
And the guy I was dating at the time found me and called 911. My eldest daughter left the house and hasn't spoken to me since. And she also has significant mental health issues. She tried to commit suicide numerous times. Um, and actually, I found it kind of surprising having that she had been there, and yes, I had a Baker acted and she was mad. And I think some of it was revenge for the Baker Act mum, and she can know what it
Sure.
feels like. But I was kind of shocked in a way that she didn't understand or empathize. Like she just took the angry
Mm-hmm.
path, and it's going to take time. And honestly, I don't know how to fix that relationship. If I speak to her, it's
Mm-hmm.
wrong. If I don't speak to her, it's wrong. So it's like you're in this flux. Um, and that as a mum is really hard. I haven't spoken to my kid in over a year. So, but she didn't understand, like maybe mum's at such a low point, I need to support her. Her idea was to just run, which I also understand, but I think it's interesting different people's perspectives. But, I took help. For me, it was very situational. It was like everything all at once had just imploded in my life. Things with my ex-husband were really bad. Work had, obviously now just fallen apart, and I find out that it's all a scam and everything else.
Ugh.
And I didn't know what to do. And then I didn't actually see my youngest daughter for 8, 9 months. My ex-husband took her away and said, you can't see her. And I had to start with supervised visits and build it up and build it up. And I would say I was disappointed in the legal system and the mental health system because there's no one really
Okay.
there to help you. You're made to feel like a criminal because you've
Mm.
tried to take your own life. And I think we need to change that stigma. And that's something that in time I want to do. Um, is do more of that kind of work with people and contribute to causes that support rather than alienate. Because if I'd had that support, I probably would have had my daughter back sooner. I'm sure there's a lot of moms out there who have been in a bad mental health spot and have lost their kids, and they just need a bit of help to get them back. So that's something that eventually in my legacy I want to weave in. So yeah, mental health is a tough one.
Yeah. And, I only bring it up because you had shared that before. And I think it's important to, in the vein of having real conversations and with real people, to say that mental health is a issue, it's a big deal, and that I think you're a wonderful example of showing that you are, moving through it and being as, positive as you can be and finding the tools to make it work. And I think that that should be a hopeful story for anybody that's currently kind of struggling with that. And the mental health that is not just personal to you, but is surrounded by you, I think really plays a big role in moving through that and moving ahead.
Yeah, definitely. And don't be afraid again to ask for help. I know there are, charities and things out there that can help and things, but talk to your friends, reach out, don't be on your own.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. What are some of the tools that you used to move on from that?
So for me, it was just realizing that I did everything I could. I ended up in a bad situation. All I can do now is rebuild my life again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really kind of, for me, that was my last new beginning. I was like, okay, if this doesn't work out this time, I don't know what I do. Um, and that's how I did it. And for me, it was difficult because counseling, I didn't want to go over everything. Like, I don't want to talk again about the same
Right.
things and the same things. And I've been through sexual abuse as a child and things. I'm like, I don't want to talk to someone about this. So actually, for me, counseling was almost counterproductive. It was just finding coping mechanisms and things that allowed me to go day to day. But it was also hard because my ex-husband had access to all my mental health notes, and I was having to prove to him through mental assessments now, and he's reading all my notes. You're like, I don't necessarily want to
Oh
share
man.
everything
Right.
because he's going to read this, and so that for women going through that and that invasion of privacy, I totally understand that, and that's definitely the hardest part is finding ways and tools and paths that can go through and you feel safe and secure as well. And I think maybe that's where the system as it is kind of fails us a little bit, that it doesn't give us that protection if we need it.
Yeah. Okay. I think that is really good. Something that you shared, and I just want to encapsulate it because it's so powerful, is the idea of like your last new beginning. So, new beginnings,
Mm-hmm.
you have had many. Tell me about new beginnings. Like, what is that idea? Where is that from? What does that mean and feel for you?
So for me, it's a clean slate.
Mm,
It's what do I do for work? Who's in my friendship circle? Where do I want to be? Who's in my relationship circle? What kind of relationship do I want? Do I want a relationship? Honestly, when I had this guy, I didn't want a relationship. I said to my friends, I'm going to be single for the next 6 months. I just
yeah.
want to rebuild my life. And for me, and really evaluating that, I had a lot of people I would call friends. And then I was like, hang
Hmm.
on a minute. When I tried to tell myself, how many people really noticed something happened to me, called me, checked in on me, text me, any of those things? How many people really did that? And they're the people that, actually care about you and are there for the good and the bad. And so just have those thoughts, who could you call tomorrow and say, this new beginning, I define like what I want my legacy to be. What do I want to leave behind? What do I want my girls to think? Um, I actually went to an event way before any of this. It was a ClickFunnels event with Russell Brunson, the marketer, and he made us write our eulogy. And that was like
Oh,
the
man.
hardest thing I ever had to do. We had like an hour, and everyone there is crying their eyes out of like, what they would want someone to stand up and say about them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very small, intimate group. It was his inner circle
Mm-hmm.
group. We went on a trip, but it was like the best exercise ever. So when I did my new beginning, I almost took that perspective of like, okay, my life begins today. If I was to
Wow.
die in a year's time, what do I want people to say about me? What do I want people to
Mm-hmm.
think? What path do I want to be on? And then I basically reverse engineered where I want to be, where I am, and things I can do to get there. And some of them are not going to happen this year or next year. They might be 5, 10 years down the line. But that's kind of the path I want to take.
When you think about your career and life so far, and thinking about how motherhood and parenthood has played a role in it, how would you say that role or title to you has shaped where you are now today?
I think it's made me more empathetic,
Mm,
definitely. I was pretty cold-hearted, I would say, before I was a mum. Um, did I make mistakes? Absolutely. They do not come with a manual. You do what you think is best in the moment, and you can look back on it
right.
later and say, hey, I screwed that up. I'm sorry. But for me, it's just give me a different perspective on life. Like, you think about it,
Mhm.
you're like, okay, how am I going to feel about that? Or for me, everything I've been through, and one of the guys I work with now, we both want to build this legacy, and we have this legacy concept in common. That's how we ended up working together. And the one thing I say to him is, I want my children to be financially secure and never have to go through what I went through. I never want them to think, oh my God, my husband can take my house, my 401k, he can take everything from me. And I'll give it to him because I'd rather be free than stuck in this nightmare. It's better for me to be free. So for me, I want to build a legacy where, one, they're proud of what I did, but also that they feel secure and they don't ever have to go through the things I went through because they have that, you know, I guess that fail safe. But at the same time, you don't want them to be the spoiled brat child that's like, hey, I can have whatever I want because mom's going to bail me out. They're going to make
Yeah.
mistakes. You have to let them make mistakes. But I never, ever want them to go through the tough time I went
Ugh, that's beautiful. Um, and I think that's really powerful when you're thinking about what legacy or your eulogy you would want to
through.
share. Oh my gosh, what an exercise. And yeah, legacy is such a powerful word, um, especially as you take legacy and then put it kind of in the vein of the parent experience.
I think it's just, if you haven't ever thought about it, think about it because it will change your perspective and it will make you think, am I on the right path? Do I want to change my path? All those kinds of things.
Wise words. Love that. Okay. So thinking about everything that you have gone through, what is some advice that you would give your younger self?
You don't need a man.
Oh,
So, my parents got divorced when I was young. My grandfather was like my father. I would say my grandparents brought me up more than my parents. But
mm,
as great as my grandparents were, everything was always about money. And it was like very contingent on money. I mean, I always remember being an adult and I stood in my granddad's kitchen, and this is after I'd left my mom's house with my daughter, and he's like, can you just go and see your mom like once a year so you get your inheritance? I'm like, huh? I was like, I'd rather not have my inheritance, but have my peace of mind and my mental health than have to do that. And he couldn't understand that. So everything was very contingent. And I was always kind of like begging for approval, feeling like I needed their approval and their validation. And it's taken me a long time to feel like I don't need a man in my life to validate and approve me. And that for me was my biggest learning point. Like if I'd have known that, I wouldn't have got married at 19. Not that I ever regret having my daughter, but like I probably could have made some other choices or better
right.
choices. Um, but yeah, that would be my advice to my younger self is you don't need a man and you don't need someone else's validation. And actually my partner now, he texted me yesterday something. He's like, by the way, I want you to think about that. I want you to be proud of yourself. He's like, I'm proud of you, but you need to be proud of yourself too. And so yeah, kind of I guess poignant based on the conversation we're having now.
Such beautiful advice. You don't need a man and you don't need to beg for approval.
Thank you.
What a world that would be if every single woman behaved in that way.
Right? It'd be so good.
So good. So, with that advice, how does that change your parenting style with your youngest daughter now?
But I want her to be proud and happy and to try everything. Right now she's into artistic roller skating. So she practices when she's with me, we do lessons and just trying to support her, in whatever she wants to try. She wants to go to a particular school. This is her last year of elementary, so she'll be going to middle. And there's a school she wants to go to. And I said, well, okay, you want to go there? You need to have good grades. So, she's like, okay, mom, can we go to Barnes and Noble? I want to do workbooks. Like, she's leading it. I said, look, I'm not going to beg you. I used to fight with her sister to do the workbooks all summer. I said, I'm not going through that again. I'm like, if you want to do them, you do
Right.
them. You don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
them,
Wow.
don't do them. So it's
Wow.
letting them lead and supporting them and guiding them and making them feel like they have some control over their life. Obviously they're not in control of their kids, but um, letting them follow some desires and some passions and supporting them. And when you're co-parenting, that's really hard because my ex-husband doesn't
Mm-hmm.
agree. He doesn't take her to the roller skating and things like that. But you can only do what you can do when it's in your power. So you have to let them, if they don't want to, you have to let it go. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I would say with my daughter, it's just letting her have her decisions, letting her try things, letting her have some lead. Um, she works for me, she earns some money, she does stuff around the office, just giving them that little bit of responsibility and that feeling like, okay, I'm a little independent woman. I have some of my own money, I can go spend it on what I want. And just kind of starting those habits early that she doesn't feel like she needs to get the approval from anyone because she's doing what makes her happy.
Powerful. Amazing. So as you move into this next phase of your life, what
Mhm.
are some goals or hopes and things that you have for what's next for Sasha?
So I hope this one's for keeps, for sure, because I don't want to be going back
I
in that
love that.
dating world. And I adore him. I mean, he's amazing. So um, for me, it's about having my independence whilst also being part of a team. And I have my Digital Phoenix, my SEO agency, and I love it. And I want to grow that and I want to build it out. And I have a vision for what I want it to be in the long term. I have my kind of side projects and my visions for those. But it's about having balance. I've had lots of money. We had a great salary, we had a big house, and it doesn't make you happy. It's about making sure that what I do is fulfilling and makes me happy because I'd rather have a smaller house and a lesser car, but have the time and the energy and the happiness. So um, yeah, I guess I've kind of rebalanced my life. It's not about the driving the Porsche and having the $1 million home. It's about okay, are we all happy? Are we having fun? Are we creating memories? Are we enjoying life? Like that for me now is way more important.
I love that. Beautifully said. Anything that you would like to touch on or go a little bit deeper on, or anything maybe that I missed that you want to share?
So the only thing I would say is about my eldest daughter. Um,
Yeah.
I know I'm not the only parent out there. I have a very good friend. She's in a very similar situation. She has a daughter who's 16, 17. She decided to move with her dad too. So I know it happens, and it's something I guess we don't really talk about as parents. And maybe we look at the parents who
Mm.
don't have their kids for whatever reason, whether it's exes or, whatever, in maybe with a slight stigma. I know I did before it happened to me. I thought this would never happen to me. I thought I was doing all the right things, and she just upped and left. And she hadn't seen her dad, so she was 16 when she left. She hadn't seen her dad since she was 18 months old, apart from once in a therapist's office when she was like 11. So she had no relationship with her dad. She didn't see him, she didn't speak to him. He didn't want anything to do with her. He built a new life, new kids. And she ran to him. She ran actually to Pennsylvania. And that's been really tough because I haven't spoken to her in a year. She's back here. She actually moved in with one of my good friends at the time, but um, I think we don't talk about it enough. That sometimes relationships with kids can go wrong, or kids are not in your life, and how do you deal with that as a parent? Because it's really tough, and sometimes there's no one to navigate through it. And I mean, I don't have a relationship with my mom or my dad um, for different reasons, and I called my mom actually after nearly 10 years when my ex-husband and I broke up. And I called her, and her first words to me was, well, what did you do to deserve that? Like
Mm.
instantly, she loved my ex-husband. Like she loved him. And they were her first words. And I was like, okay, this is not a conversation I'm going to have. I said, how could you say that to me? She took the opportunity to stick the knife in. I kind of went out with the white flag of like, maybe it's time to reconnect with my family. And she just ripped me apart. I mean, I sat there and I cried my eyes out for days over things. Um, that was probably the last conversation we really had. But yeah, so I think it's, parental relationships are difficult. And I would say just always keep the door open. And, I hope one day Maddie turns around and is like, okay, it's time to reach out to mum. I text her here and there, but, I just get like this poison back. And then sometimes for your own mental health, you can't take that poison. So
Of
I'm like,
course. Yeah.
I choose to not always text her. Maybe that's the right thing. Maybe it's the wrong thing. I don't know. I don't know that there is a right or a wrong answer. But
Right.
yeah, so it's just, I would say that if you are in that situation, either your kids have left or you're the kid that's left, put the olive branch out there, but just keep it civil. Even if it's hi, how are you? Almost like a business-like conversation. Don't go into the emotional and the personal straight away because you're just going to destroy any chances of communication.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, thank you for acknowledging that because I think you are right. There is a lot, it doesn't get talked about. It doesn't get talked about. And I think it's so interesting for you to say something like, oh, well, that wouldn't happen to me. And then yet find yourself in this moment. And I think that separation and the relationship dynamics now that you are going through or will continue to go through with your lifetime is something that there should be conversation around.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I absolutely mean I failed her when I tried to commit suicide. But in my own mind, I had no step forward. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to admit where you failed. And could I have done
Mm-hmm.
better by her? Yeah, I'm sure. I did what I always thought was best in the time. With hindsight, of course, you would change things and do things differently, but you can't always do that.
Yes. And your role as mother, even though it's not talked about, is still there, of course.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyone that's currently in that same situation, you have mentioned, to be open, yet have boundaries if it, gets a little toxic. But for you, if somebody right now is listening and is estranged from their child, do you have any tools or advice that you've been through or used that you would give them or words to share with them?
All I can say is you have to admit that you were wrong. You have to say sorry. It might not be enough. Some of it might be time, but don't be afraid to just send a text and say, hey, I know you don't want to chat right now. That's okay. Just wanted you to know I'm thinking of you. And just, that's it.
I thank you for sharing. I think something that you're bringing up for me that you said, but is just I feel like can be said again, is this idea of judging that and how it doesn't deserve a judgment. And when you're saying, you're doing the best that you can, and you even said this, there is no right or wrong. You are fluid through the moment. And to judge something like that is just completely unfair for the people that are involved.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I say, I never thought I would be in any of these situations. Like, if you to tell
Right.
me this is my life like 5 years ago, I'd been like, no, that's not me. Like, I'm never going to go through that. That's never going to happen to me. And I probably would have been, honestly, one of the ones judging. And then you
Mm-hmm.
go through it and you're like, oh, wow, I never saw that coming. And yeah, that's just how life goes, I guess.
You are a warrior. Thank you for sharing. I know that's going to resonate with people. Okay, I have three rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
One is if you could sum up parenthood in one word, what would that be?
It's a roller coaster.
Love it. Agreed. Okay, love it. What is one parenting myth that you wish would go away?
Don't follow everyone else's advice. Like, just because it works for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you. The same with all the pregnancy, don't eat this, don't do that, don't do the other. Do what's right for you. Like if it feels right, obviously don't do stupid stuff like drink and smoke. But, you know, you kind of have to find a balance of what works for you and the advice, because everyone's experience is different, everyone's life is different. And, you just have to find what's right. So, yeah.
Wonderful advice applied to everywhere, businesses, relationships, this phase of life, that responsibility that we have. Don't take everybody's advice. I love it. Beautiful. Okay. And last one, Sasha, where in your life are you crushing it? Where do you feel like you're excelling?
Right now in business, I mean, things are growing, things are good. We started all these things and, you know, touch wood, everything's going pretty good.
Thank you for being an example of starting those new beginnings and really being honest with your experience.
Yeah. Well, I haven't shared most of it before.
Well, that could be your next book.
Oh my God, I think we need a whole series of books.
Thanks for listening to It's a Circus. If today's episode made you feel a little less alone, share it with a friend who might need it too. We are building something amazing at the Turner Brothers Circus, an entire space designed for parents to find connection, laughter, and support. I'd love for you to be a part of it. Remember, you're doing better than you think. Stay grounded, stay real, and embrace that beautiful mess. And as always, the show must go on. Until next time.